Hello, today is Easter. They call it Good Friday. I don't know why they call it Good Friday when it was the day that Jesus was crucified. But, for a long time I've been wanting to do a video which involves Easter information. Easter information. And, it also has a lot to do with things which I've been learning about over the last 2 years about UFOs, extraterrestrials, and stuff like that. Now, there's a program called the Disclosure Project, and the movie release, Sirius, or Sirius, or Sirius, or however it's pronounced, I don't know. It's going to be on April the 22nd in Los Angeles. The guy hosting it is a guy named Stephen Greer. Now, a lot of scientists involved in different technologies are atheists. They don't believe that the world was created by God, the Creator, and they believe everything just evolved somehow. You've got different science departments which believe that, like the Hollister Collider in Switzerland, that they found the God particle. And God was so small, so they smashed him up. And these old hippies or yippies, I wouldn't call them hippies because they're just these old farts of university campuses who lived their whole lives in theories. But so I guess these old guys are what you call yippies. And they have this atom smasher, and they're trying to come up with some solution to what created the Big Bang. Oh, by the way, the Big Bang is just another theory. Now, over the last 3 years, I've taken a lot of online flack from people who want to pawn off Jesus, the crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension to heaven as just a myth. But at the same time, with all the arguing back and forth between me and some of the geeks, they have never to this day given me one piece of real solid evidence that creation didn't happen. There's not a single piece of evidence of all the garbage that paleontology and archaeology can throw at you, which really proves anything, that the world evolved. And into the age of these rocks and stuff that they ramble on about, that they're in the millions and billions of years old, that they're that old at all. Nothing. The whole thing hangs on carbon-14 dating. And in the 1970s, there was like a little story about that the archaeologist and the paleontologist just supporting each other. The archaeologists would say, hey, this rock is 2,000 billion years old. And when asked how he knew, he said the paleontologist told me. And, well, how did the paleontologists know? Because they used carbon-14 dating. So, asked the paleontologist why this rock is 2,000 billion years old. And the paleontologists say, because the archaeologists told me so. And so the archaeologists came to the conclusion it was 2,000 billion years old because the paleontologists said it was. And the paleontologists said it was because carbon-14 dating said it was. And who's to say carbon-14 dating determines anything? It's all just a bunch of theories and philosophies and opinions by a bunch of big shots in the universities, big scientists. So to this day, there's nothing that convinces me that the world was not created less than 7,000 years ago. Because history, any evidence of anything, only goes back to Egypt, the first world power. And under which the Hebrews were slaves of the pharaohs, and then God raised up Moses, who turned out was an Egyptian, but he wanted to free the slaves, and God used them to lead the Hebrews into the wilderness, and they survived there for 40 years because they kept screwing up. And eventually they got led to the Promised Land, now known as Israel. Well, it was known as Israel. But today's modern Israel is not anything to do with ancient Israel, because it was a religious nation. Modern Israel is not a religious nation. And when Jesus was crucified, he was dead for 3 days. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but Jesus was not crucified on a Friday. So why do they call it Good Friday? Jesus was crucified on a Thursday. But they did not want to celebrate his crucifixion on a Thursday because it was a pagan holiday of some god named Thor's or whatever. I've never really got too much into studying a lot of all that stuff, but from what I learned a long time ago, that I think they had a god named Thor's. and he was a pagan god, and they didn't want to celebrate Jesus' crucifixion on the same day as a pagan holiday and pagan celebration. But that itself shows that Jesus' crucifixion was a ritualistic execution. Like the Easter 2005 torture, 13-day torture and execution to death of Terry Schiavo. During the 3 days that Jesus was dead, he went to 3 places, and these are discussed in the New Testament. First of all, there is two guys on the cross beside him, one on one side and one on the other side. One guy got mocking Jesus. He could save others, he can't save himself. The other guy had a few words to say about that. And Jesus told the one guy, he said, "Today thou shalt be with me in paradise." Now, in paradise was a place inside the earth. That's right. And then, so he told the guy that they were gonna be in paradise together. And I'll tell you, the other guy wasn't. And I think in Peter or Timothy said in another epistle, in one of the epistles, that Jesus preached to the spirits in prison. So inside the earth, there were 2 places at least: paradise. All the people who died before Jesus was crucified, their spirits went to paradise inside the earth to await the resurrection. And other people who were obviously evil and wicked descended to the spirits in prison. So inside the earth there is a prison for the bad boys. And I don't just think it's the guys who get framed and blamed for things that really shouldn't even be considered a crime today. But I do have a feeling that all those big shots, in spite of all the Hollywood movies through the decades and generations, I do have a feeling that those big shots of the New World Order, as they drop off, they go to the prisons. They go to the spirits in the prisons. And so for all the victims of crimes, you should consider that a compliment, that if they didn't get their justice in this life, they are not running the world from the spirit world like they want their followers to believe. They are getting their just deserts for thousands of years, some of them. So Jesus went to paradise, and he also went to the spirits in prison. And there is a good possibility that the fact that he went to the spirits in prison, some of those people must have been ready to go to heaven. Now, anything anybody says revolves around information we absorb in our lifetime. You know what I mean? So, I'm just telling you what I've learned in my life. And for 20 years, I worked with an organization where, on and off, I studied and taught Bible prophecy stuff. But so I do believe in Jesus. I do believe he is the Son of God. And I do believe at the end of our life, people who really do accept Jesus as the Messiah, our Savior, when they die, there's a place in heaven. Now, heaven was not a place inside the earth. And heaven is not paradise. Another thing people don't understand is that on the third day, when Jesus rose from the dead, that was a Sunday, and that's how it's all worked out in our calendars now. He never really went out of his way to show that he rose from the dead to his enemies. Now, why would he go out of his way to show himself to his enemies? They were a bunch of scum anyway. No, he showed himself though, and he showed plenty of people that he was alive. And also his body, when he rose from the dead, was made from his physical body. That's right, he was physical, not just spiritual, not just interdimensional. His body was made from his physical body. And when he showed himself to his disciples and other people, they were able to see his scars, which was proof that his resurrection body was made from his physical body. Now, that's not the only big surprise. Another big surprise is this. At the time Jesus rose from the dead, it says the graves of many were opened. So, in our organization, our guru believed that it was, quite possible that all the people from the Old Testament who had been dead, some of them for thousands of years, were actually rose from the dead at the same time as Jesus. Because in the New Testament, it does, whether Apostle Paul or Peter or Timothy, they mention that Jesus was the first fruits of the resurrection. So there's a good chance that the fact that all these other people rose from their graves too. It's possible, it's really possible, that when Jesus went to heaven, they went with him. And then since then, we have all the people who have died since Jesus ascended to heaven. But before I finish this point, there's something I want to mention. Jesus didn't just get out of his grave and fly away. He made sure there was a lot of evidence. But he sure wasn't going to go out of his way to let his enemies see or experience the evidence. So I think it's good that so many of these other religions want to laugh and mock, ridicule anybody who would believe that Jesus really rose from the grave and went to heaven. Let them laugh or ridicule all they want. It's all right. People only live so many years anyway. And either Christians are right, and they do wind up going to heaven when they die, or they don't. Big deal. But I would sure rather know that I've made a commitment and I'm in my life while I'm alive that Jesus did raise from the dead. And he did everything the scriptures say. Now, there is a lot of information which has been withheld from us in the last 100 years. And now there are three major groups of people who have been trying to bring out this information to the world since World War II. One of them is called the Disclosure Project. Another one is called the Orion Project. And there's another one called Thrive.com. You type in the search engine of those organizations. And also, don't forget to do a search and log on to the Venus Project under Jaque Fresco. Right now, if money was out of the way, if people could ever understand that money has nothing for anybody but to be obstacles in the way, and that there's millions of bankers, not millions of bankers, but the world banking system and all the hundreds of thousands of workers who are wasting their lives on nothing but managing transactions of money. That is why the world will always have poverty, disease, and war as long as the economic system is allowed to stand. If people would understand one thing, that people could continue to provide the flow of goods and services without money, period, there would be no more control of the world population by the world's worst terrorists. There are the people who control the governments, the banks, and the organizations. Then the Venus Project, the resource-based economy, would be able to change the planet in 10 years. All that's important is public education. Public education, which is free. And with people who have the ability to make sure that the whole world population learns what they need to learn so they can fit in where they want to fit in to continue the flourishing and erasing of poverty and pollution and war. So this is 2013. And I noticed recently CNN is beginning a little bit more to come out with UFO flying saucer pieces in their news coverage. And that's a good beginning. Because one thing I will say is when all this stuff comes out and the information that was been blocked says World War II, we're going to have a free world. And the crime will go down to nearly nothing. There will be people with evil minds. But we should not be allowing these irritants to be the top leaders of government, economics, and our social well-being. Healthcare is being driven by these corporations who only want profit. There is a right to die societies. They want to legalize their killing machine around the world. They're trying to erase the right to die of old age. They want to put time limits. And the more I've been staying on top of things the last 2 or 3 years, they are definitely driving toward brainwashing people to think that the last 10 years of life, you're supposed to be, you'll be so sick, you'll be so diseased, blah, blah, and your pain will be so bad, you just need to get out of the way and free up the resources for the newer people. Well, you know what? all these things need to be shut down. And in 10 years, the Venus Project could have a world that works for everybody. And then there's the Disclosure Project. They are ready to let everybody know that don't freak out when you see UFOs and extraterrestrials. I haven't seen any myself. I'm not looking forward to it. But hey, maybe there's plenty of people who do need to see it to make them feel better, and maybe there is science which we're all going to learn about. If so, good. I don't doubt that all these things exist. But at the same time, I'm not sure, even if all these things in the disclosure are for real, I'm not sure it suddenly means that there is no place called heaven and there is no place called hell. There might be a combination of everything. And this will just be new knowledge, new information that 6 billion people on this planet are ready for. The sad thing is this, that some of the most considerate scientists who have discovered and developed a lot of the technology which is being withheld from the world have been assassinated. It's really sad. Really good-hearted scientists and researchers murdered so that their technology could have been turned into weapons of mass destruction. But what can I say? We have people who are hiding under so many layers of secret, anonymous sources, and taxpayers are footing the bill. Don't you think it's about time to put an end to money and put an end to the power of the banks and corporations? We elect officials to be our government in each country. And as soon as they get voted in, it's all over right there. Anyway, I do believe in Jesus. I do believe in God the Creator. And even with these different revelations which have been withheld from the world population about aliens, extraterrestrials, their spin on it is that they're not here to threaten us or to harm us. They're here to, if anything, to help the people of this planet to not self-destruct. But we have some very dangerous warmongers who are using the military, the war machine, for purposes which are not for anybody's interest but the corporations and the warmongers. Let's hope that we can have a better Easter in 2014. This is Good Friday, and on Sunday, I won't say Happy Easter, because Easter should not be a time to be happy. It should cause everybody to seriously think what Easter's about. If people, I know Christians are blamed for everything, blamed for all the wars. But you know something? The Christians have been brainwashed into being so bow to Israel. And that's the problem. Modern Israel is not what it's made out to be. Christians need to wake up and stop being used as proxies to maintain wars all over the planet. I am not gonna bow to modern Israel when their ancestors were Jesus' enemies. Sorry. This special relationship between the U.S. and Israel and Canada and Israel is time to butt out. It's time to shut down the war machine and make this a place of heaven on earth. Roxanne Meadows said something in one of her presentations. She said, you know, it's Christians wait for Jesus to come back and set up his 1,000-year heaven on earth, and you know, but they're not doing anything to make it come about. She said something like that, and it's the truth. They're not doing anything to really make the world a better place except for themselves. You are not improving the world by allowing yourself, your young people, to go to war to be proxies for bankers in Israel. That's all I have to say for Easter 2013. The Venus Project, which I wish could really get off the ground, because so many people around the world really endorse everything Jaque and Roxanne have been doing for the last quite a few years. And for the Disclosure Project, and for Thrive. Go to thrive.com. Go to thedisclosure.com. And have a good Easter weekend. That's it for tonight. And the movie release, Sirius, or Sirius, or Sirius, or however it's pronounced, I don't know. It's going to be on April the 22nd in Los Angeles. The guy hosting it is a guy named Stephen Greer. Now, a lot of scientists involved in different technologies are atheists. They don't believe that the world was created by God, the Creator, and they believe everything just evolved somehow. You've got different science departments which believe that, like the Hollister Collider in Switzerland, that they found the God particle. And God was so small, so they smashed them up. Carbon-14 dating. And in the 1970s, there was like a little story about that the archaeologist and the paleontologist just supporting each other. The archaeologists would say, hey, this rock is 2,000 billion years old. And when I asked how he knew, he said the paleontologist told me. And, well, how did the paleontologists know? Because they used carbon-14 dating. So, asked the paleontologist why this rock is 2,000 billion years old. And the paleontologists say, because the archaeologists told me so. Resurrection and ascension to heaven as just a myth. But at the same time, with all the arguing back and forth between me and some of the geeks, they have never to this day given me one piece of real solid evidence that creation didn't happen. There's not a single piece of evidence of all the garbage that paleontology and archaeology can throw at you, which really proves anything, that the world evolved. And into the age of these rocks and stuff that they ramble on about, and they're in the millions and billions of years old, that they're that old at all. Nothing. The whole thing hangs on, and these old hippies or yippies, I wouldn't call them hippies because they're just these old farts of university campuses who lived their whole lives in theories. But so I guess these old guys are what you call yippies. And they have this atom smasher. And they're trying to come up with some solution to what created the Big Bang. Oh, by the way, the Big Bang is just another theory. Now, over the last 3 years, I've taken a lot of online flack from people who want to pawn off Jesus, the crucifixion, resurrection. Hello, today is Easter. They call it Good Friday. I don't know why they call it Good Friday when it was the day that Jesus was crucified. But for a long time I've been wanting to do a video which involves Easter information. Easter information. And it also has a lot to do with things which I've been learning about over the last 2 years about UFOs, extraterrestrials, and stuff like that. Now, there's a program called the Disclosure Project